Good morning. Today we're going to go over course and course section setup, course group and course group section setup procedural checklist, course requests, public course request module, and the batch scheduler. To find the documentation for any of these, if you just go in student information to the question mark, and then it comes up with the product guides, and there's course requests. If you just click over to procedural checklist, it has the procedural checklist listed there, the course section and course group setup, batch scheduler, and the public course request procedural checklist. We're going to go over course and course section setup first. So the first thing that you want to make sure is that you are in the correct school year. So you want to make sure that you're in 2021, 2022, and keep in mind that you can, before you do this in live data, you can do this in Dazzle Play. So you can practice in Dazzle Play. It updates every week, so you're not going to affect anything with your live data. So the first thing for the courses we're going to do is enter new courses and verify current courses. If you type in CRSE, you'll come up with the course curriculum report. You'll want to run this first to verify your courses, pull over any fields that you need to, click submit. And here are my courses that I already have. Once you've done that, you can either navigate to the breadcrumb trail listed on page 3 or page 2, or you can type in the go-to over on the right-hand side, courses. Once you're here, this is where you can add courses or search for courses. You'll want to click on add course to add a new one. I'm going to go in and edit one of ours. So when you click on add course, this is the screen that you'll see when it first pops up. So the general tab, you want to enter a code, an abbreviation, a name, a short name, and then you can put a description in if you want to. Hours of instruction field details the average amount of instruction the student receives for EMIS reporting. Ours is listed at 126. Scheduling priority field is used by the batch scheduler. If the batch scheduler is ran with number 10 order requests by priority selected, then the batch scheduler will schedule the student into courses of higher priority before courses of lower priority. And you want to keep in mind, because it's a little bit different, 9 is the highest priority and 1 is the lowest. So normally you would think 1 would be the highest priority and 9 would be the lowest, but it's the opposite. 9 is the highest, 1 is the lowest. We're going to leave ours at 5. And then down here, you can customize any of these to what you want to show. So if you use the public course request module that we'll go over in a little bit, you want to make sure that this is checked to display on public module. If this is not checked and a student goes in to request that course, it won't show on the public course request module for them. If this is a high school credit course, you want to make sure that's checked. If you want this course to roll to the next school year, you make sure that's checked. If it was college prep, and to display on parent access. So if you want your students to be able to see this course on their parent access account, then you want to make sure that is check marked. You always want to make sure is active is checked. Otherwise, you can't put course sections in or students into the course. The is in update history checkbox determines if a course appears on a student's course history page. The core course checkbox is no longer used, so you can ignore that, whether it's checked or not, does not matter. The dual credit checkbox determines if a course should be marked as dual credit. This field is used with the e-transcript product. And the NCAA core course checkbox determines if a course counts towards NCAA core course requirements. The next tab over is the Marks tab. Here's where you can enter the course weight. The course weight is used by the batch scheduler. Level of difficulty, so if it's a weighted course. GPA add-on level. If it's an AP advanced placement or an honors course, the GPA add-on level dropdown is optional and determines if a specific point value is added to the calculated GPA. Credit unions field is required and is used in several modules in student information. One of the modules is the PCR, the public course request module. Mark bump dropdown is used by the Jackson GPA method, which is explained in detail in the GPA procedural checklist. Rank weight is used by several custom GPAs and is also explained in the GPA procedural checklist. College credit hours field is used to specify the number of credit hours if this course counts for college credit. Ours does not, so it's 0. And the CCP location IRN field is the IRN of the college if the course is for college credit. And then once we would put, if this was a CCP course, we would put the IRN in, and then it would give you the college's location down here. If this is a course that you want to include in the honor roll, you want to make sure that is checkmarked. If you wanted to include in total credits, make sure that's checked. Also for GPA, if you want that to include in the GPA. If this is an honors course, you would checkmark that. And if you want this to be included on the student's permanent record and print on the report card, you want to make sure those two are checked. The next tab is the miscellaneous tab. So in the miscellaneous tab, the department dropdown is optional and is a way to group similar classes together, but ours is an English class, so we put English in the dropdown. The area of study has all your areas of study listed here. This is an English course. Subject area is English. Gender directive. This field is used by the batch scheduler. Some districts use it, some don't. You can leave it at none. You can balance males across sections and balance females across sections, restrict to females or restrict to males. This is up to you at your district. Course type, this is a class. So if this was a CCP course, we would have it as College Credit Plus. If this was a study hall, we would have it as a study hall, but this is just a regular class. Language code, you can leave it blank or you can put English in there. If you want this to be included in graduation eligibility, you want to make sure that's check marked. And then here you want to pull over the grade level that this course is for. So this is 9th grade English, so we have 9th grade pulled over. The next tab over is the EMIS tab. When you're working on the EMIS tab, we highly suggest that you work on this tab with your EMIS coordinator. The EMIS coordinator will be able to help you with any of these, and it helps them so that when they go to submit their data, they don't get any errors on any of these courses. So the EMIS location IRN is only required if different from the current building. It's optional if it's the same building. The location description is only required if the EMIS location IRN is 9s. The EMIS staff provider IRN field is the district IRN of the entity in contract with the reporting school district. The EMIS course level field designates the level of the course. This provides distinctions between courses that are taken in a series or have prerequisites such as French 1 and French 2. So ours is just a 1. The EMIS subject code details the subject of the course being reported. So ours is Integrated English Language Arts. You see there's a ton of them listed here. So you want to make sure that you select the correct one. EMIS subject area for credit. This is an English class, so it's an English credit. Language used, you can choose a language here. Ours is English. Core subject area. You can choose from the drop down. Ours is English, and this is only required when high school credit is checked. End of course assessment. So you can choose which end of course assessment this should be tied to. This is English Language Arts 1. CTE college credit, we're going to put no for that because this is not a CTE course. Curriculum, this is a regular OT class. If this is a post-secondary or college credit, you can put that listed. AP for advanced placement. Delivery method is face-to-face. If this was a computerized instructor, you could choose CI. If it was an online course, it's listed here, but this is a face-to-face classroom instruction. Educational option. The educational option field identifies the educational option status for a course per Ohio Administrative Code. Ours is listed as no. Student population. Student population we have as regular gen ed students, but if this was a gifted course or a special ed course, you can choose in the drop down. Highly qualified teacher IRN field is the IRN used to group courses for calculation of the percent of core courses taught by highly qualified staff and the percent of core courses taught by properly certified staff. The credit flex field designates if an alternate way of earning credit applies to the course. So ours is at N. And this report to EMIS, you want to make sure that is checked because that will make sure that the course gets reported to EMIS when your EMIS coordinator reports the data. The prereq and co-req tab. This is where you can enter a prereq or a co-req. So you would just click new requisite listed here. And then you could click this little bubble with the 3 dots. And then you would just type in the name of your course here. And then you would just click the arrow beside it if there was a pre or a co-req. And you would hit save and it would display. Okay, so once you have your courses created, you move on to course sections. So you can either follow the breadcrumb trail on page 15, or you can type in the go-to course section. You want to make sure you have your working schedule, your default schedule, and then click reload screen. So here you can add course section or you can search. So once you click add course section, this is the first that will pop up is your general tab. So the course is the course code. Section number is the section number you want listed here. Capacity is how many students. So I know with COVID it's been less, but this is how many students you want to have in your class. Course term, if this is an all year or a semester course. Is active. You want to make sure that is checked so that you can schedule students and it's not showing as inactive. You want to make sure it's always active so that the students can see it on the course request module and that you can see it when you're trying to add individual students. Roll section to next year, if you want this course section to show for next year. The meeting time description field details which periods and days the course section meets. Student information determines the meeting time description based off the meeting times tab, which will be discussed in the next task. When student information cannot translate complex meeting times, the phrase "see schedule" will display in the meeting time description field. You can place a check in the custom checkbox and type in your own descriptive meeting time, and the custom description will print on the student's schedule. So if you would check mark custom, you can type in which one it is here. So the meeting times tab, there's 3 different things you can choose from. If you have basic will be highlighted over here. It says course section must have a single teacher and a single location and have the same periods for the entire schedule. If you would change it to intermediate would be highlighted. Course section must have the same teachers, locations, and periods for the entire schedule. And then it explains right here a little bit more in detail. If you want advanced, the course section may have different teachers, locations, periods across the schedule. And there's a little bit more detail here. Ours is going to stay at basic. You want to make sure you pick your teacher, the location that your course is, the periods of the day. So ours is first period. And you can move on to the membership tab. If the course section is a member of a course group, the course group will be listed in the grid. So this is not included in the course group. So we'll leave that blank. The attendance tab. This lists the attendance. If the course section meets only one period, the attendance tab will automatically display. If the course section meets more than one period, each period will be checked on the attendance tab, but you can edit it. If you make changes to the attendance tab, please do not forget to click Save down here at the bottom. Teacher History tab. On this tab, the Teacher History tab displays the staff, course, record in a grid. Verify the information on the Teacher History tab coincides with the information on the Meeting Times tab. So you would just click to add a Teacher History record, add new. You pick your teacher, if they're the lead teacher or the co-teacher, the start and end date. If they're the teacher of record, you'll check mark that. And this is what will show up when you would click Save. This is the teacher of record. The last tab is the EMIS override tab. So this tab you would use if any values differ from the course and course maintenance. So say our student population was different. So on the course we created for this, we had regular ed. So say you have a section that is just for gifted or just for special ed. You would come to the EMIS override tab, choose which one, click Save Course, and that would change that for just this section. So once you have your course sections done, the next section over is course groups. We're not going to go over this section. Course groups aren't really used much for high school, middle school scheduling. It's more for elementary scheduling. So if you do elementary scheduling, we will be having a training on that, and we will go over course groups. So the next thing we're going to go over is the entering course request procedural checklist. So course requests can be entered in any combination of the following three ways. You can enter course requests student by student on either the request page or the request assignment page. This method is discussed in this document. You can bulk assign requests to a group of students using the request update groups page. This method is also discussed in this document. Students enter their course requests for the upcoming school year using the internet and the PCR, the public course request module. This method is discussed in the public course request procedural checklist document. So on page 2, there's also some examples of each method. We're going to start out with task number 1, bulk assigning requests to groups of students using the course request mass update groups page. So again, you can go on the breadcrumb trail, or you can type in request update groups, and that will take you to the course request mass update groups page. So this is mainly used for, say you have a course like our English course, say all 9th graders have to take English 9. So you can do it in bulk here, or if you're doing lunch, you always want to make sure you have your lunch set up before you would run the batch scheduler. So you would do lunch. So you would click add course request mass update group, type in the code, the name. You can put a description in if you want. Make sure it's check marked as active, and then you would hit save. So you would see the course request mass update group saved successfully. So then you would see it's listed right here. And then if you hover over any of these, it gives you a little description. So that's delete this record, edit. And right here it says view the rules for this group. So that's what we want to click on. So here you can add a mass update rule. So if you click on add mass update rule, you would get this. Here's the rule name. The description is add lunch request for all grade levels. Make sure it's active. Pull over the student statuses that you want, the grade levels you want. You can leave the rest of these blank if you just want them all to pull over, or you can pull over individual ones if you want to. And then add course shows as lunch. So then you want to hit save. The course request mass update rule was saved successfully. And the next thing you want to do is execute this rule group. So now we've clicked execute and the job was submitted successfully. You can click on this little settings, click on management, and you'll see that it's complete. So we can go ahead and put a student in context and see if their lunch course is listed. Okay. So we want to view their schedule. And their lunch course has been added. So task number 2 is how to bulk remove a request. So we're going to go back to the request update. So you would add course request mass update group. So say we want to delete lunch. You type in the code, name it delete lunch, and put a description, make it active, click save. You'll see up here that it's been saved successfully. Then you want to click the green arrow. You want to add a mass update rule. And in here, the rule name would be delete lunch. Delete lunch, you can put in the description or whatever you want. Make sure it's active. Pull over whatever you need to pull over. And where it shows drop course, make sure that says lunch. Click save. And then you want to execute the rule group. And the job was submitted successfully. So again, we'll go back to our management screen. Shows as complete. So let's see if our student's lunch has been removed. And you'll see lunch is no longer listed. So for any courses that you would need to massively update for students, you can add them and delete them by using the course requests or the request update groups page. So the next task is task number 3. This is assigning requests to individual students using the request assignment page. So task 3 and 4 are pretty similar. There's just a slight difference in them. Task number 4 will show the name of the course. Task number 3 won't. So I'll show you what I mean. We'll go through this. So you can follow the breadcrumb trail, or you can type in request assignments. So here's the student request and assignments page. You have to have a student in context. So here's our student. So then you would want to click add request. You type in the course here, or you can search with the ellipses. So what do we have? Let's give him math. Okay, so we'll give him fundamental geometry. Make sure it marks as approved here, is active. We'll save it. And you'll see it's listed there. And you'll see what I mean. See how it just has the course number and you don't know exactly what these courses are. So once you've added the request, that's task 3. Task 4 is assigning requests to individual students using the requests page. So if you just type in requests or go to the breadcrumb trail, it's number 2 listed here. So here is our courses. And this is what I mean by here you can see what they're actually called. Here, assignment. So the course that we added in was right here. And you can do the exact same thing on this screen. Add a request, and it gives you the same stuff. You can do it by adding and type it in with the ellipses. Then you would hit save, and it would show up here. So they both do the same thing, just it's your preference on which one you want to use. I like this one better. I like task number 4 because you can see what the course is. It's just, it doesn't just have the course code, it has the actual course name. Task number 5 is to run scheduling reports to verify scheduling data. So if you just type in scheduling reports in the go-to, it comes up with a whole list of reports. I recommend going through, if you're newer, and just running some of these reports to see which ones you like best. I'm going to give you 5 of them that we run a lot and that work the best for us and we recommend, but you can go in and run any of these. You can also go to the little paper icon here where it says reports. Click on Analytics Hub. Down to scheduling. And there are some scheduling reports down here as well. So you can run these or you can run the ones listed under scheduling reports. I'm going to give you 5 of them right now that are good. So obviously we already ran the CRSE. And if you just type the name of the report in the go-to, it will come up. So this is the course curriculum report we ran earlier. Another good one to run is the R407 master schedule, and you'll run this one a lot. Another good one is the R402. This is your tally of student course requests. The NORQ is students with no requests or assignments, so this is a good one to run. And another good one is the REQU. And this is students with no, oh wait, where did that go? Sorry about that, it didn't pop up. Let me get it. There it is, student course requests. So this is the student course request report, the REQU. So those are 5 good ones, but I recommend going through and running the ones in the Analytics Hub and the ones listed under scheduling reports, so you can see which ones work best for you. And the rest of the pages on the course requests is just kind of giving you some information on the reports and the appendix. Okay, so the next thing we'll go over is the public course requests procedural checklist. Not everybody uses this. This is a district decision if you want to use the public course request procedure, or sorry, public course request module. I think it's pretty simple to use, but some districts choose not to, and that's perfectly okay. So the public course request module in student information allows students and or parents to enter course requests on the internet for the 21-22 school year. Requests entered on the public module show immediately in student information. The public course request module is optional. Be aware that the SYI and the student promotion and bulk enrollment for the 21-22 school year must be completed before any requests can be entered. So before you really do anything with scheduling, your SYI and your student promotion and bulk enrollment need to be done. And there's an easy way to see. If you just click this little magnifying glass, you usually have to click it twice, and you have students listed, then your SYI has been run and the student promotion and bulk enrollment has been run. All right, so the first task is to verify courses and course groups are set up correctly to use the PCR module. So we did that already. We went through the courses and the course sections. We did all of that. So task number 1 has already been done. Task number 2 is to set up the application configuration. So if you go to management, school admin, public admin, application configuration. So you have to have this set up, otherwise your students won't be able to use the PCR module. So your school year in context is 21-22. The first section is called security options. Student validation method dropdown, choose none. Guardian access. This is if you want a parent or a guardian to be able to enter course requests for students. I don't know if we have anyone that does that, but we choose no. The dates of application availability, we have it from February 16th to May 20th. If you have an external course catalog, you can enter it here. Guardian approval required, we have it as none. If you want alternate courses, you can check mark this. None means all requests will be marked as approved status after the student submits the request. If you mark that, they can have an alternate course option. So the minimum credit required and the maximum credits allowed a student can request on the PCR module. If a student attempts to submit requests that are lower than or exceed the minimum or maximum setup in the application configuration, the student will receive a warning message and will be required to add or drop requests until the number of course requests falls into the correct range. So ours is listed at 1 and 8. You can check mark this if you want to enforce prereqs and co-reqs. And in the requisite action, you can choose warn, prevent, or automatic. So if you choose prevent, a student attempts to request a course they do not meet the pre or co-reqs for, an error will display and student information will not allow the student to add the request. If automatic is chosen, a student attempts to request a course they have not met the co-reqs, the application prompts the user. If the user decides to continue, the application adds or removes the additional requests. If the user decides to cancel, no request will be added or removed. If you choose warn, the dropdown allows the student to add the request even though they have not met the pre or co-reqs. The student does receive an informational warning, but they are allowed to continue. So we just have ours set as warn. Down here, permit completed courses. So if you here for permit completed courses, we always recommend, and as state support does as well, clicking this box, because if the box is unchecked, a student who took band their 9th grade year would not be allowed to request band their 10th, 11th, or 12th grade year, since band was completed their 9th grade year. The next section is course types. So you can pull any ones you want over here. We just have class and CCP. If there's any courses you need to exclude. And here's the request cutoff date. So the request cutoff date determines the last day students can enter requests. So you'll see, and this can get a little bit confusing, the request cutoff date is listed as 5/1, but the date of application availability is 5 to 5/20. So the request cutoff date, 5/1, that is the date that they can no longer request any courses on the PCR. But since this is to 5/20, they do have the ability to go in and look at their course requests. So that's why there's a difference there. All right, so next is to generate student and or guardian accounts and print username and password letters. Generation. So here's where you can create your accounts. So the account type is student only. The account lifespan, state support recommends choosing date limited. Date range uses the same dates used for the dates of application availability. So ours apparently is not correct. 2/16/21, 5/20. In the existing accounts drop down, the options are ignore, reset, and reinitialize. Choosing ignore leaves existing accounts as they are and does not change any account properties. Choosing reset will replace any existing accounts with a new username and password. We want to leave ours at ignore. student selection. So here's search mode, student search, specify username, specify student number. Homeroom date, you can just leave as what it is. You can pull any of those over, or you can leave it blank and it'll pull them all over. You can click preview students. And you'll see down here, here are the user or student accounts that are listed for some of these students. Okay, so now we are ready to print and count letters. Go back to public administration, account information letter. So here, search mode, I'm just going to leave it at student search. Leave all of this alone. You can pull stuff over if you want. Right here, you can pick what you want to be on the student's letter. So we just have this generic in here that we wrote. You can put anything you want in there. I'm going to click submit. And then there's our account information letter. So here's our letters. So here is our student's information, their username, their password. And here's, please use this username and password to log into the PCR to request your classes. So this is the verbiage that we used on that screen. Okay. So once you've done your letters, it's now time for students to enter the requests on the PCR module. So back on here. So we'll click and we'll type in. Now you may have this saved on your website, but we're going to go to OME-RESA.net, support and help links, PB course requests. So here's where we'll type the username and password in. So we're going to use this one. Copy. There we go. All right. We're going to log in. Told me I was wrong. Interesting. I need to add that second B. Okay. I'll try. There we go. Okay. So this is what the student will see once they're logged in. It has who they're logged in as, their information, and here's where they can request courses. So they can type in any of this, or you just hit search and it comes up with all the courses. Now you also want to make sure that they're checking the include completed courses box, because like we did earlier when we set up the public course request module, if you don't click include completed courses, then they can't choose band for another year or choir or any of those types of courses. Okay, so we're going to pick some courses for this student. We'll put him in American history, chemistry, and calculus. So once he checks his courses, scroll down to the bottom, request selected courses. And then after finalizing your requests, remember to review requests and then submit. So before we do that, we're going to go over to task number 5, and we're going to verify each student who has entered course requests. So before we go in, we're going to look at this real quick. So if you go here to the go-to in student information, and you type in uncommitted, so this is the uncommitted request report. You can leave everything blank here. You can choose down here. So show students without requests, unapproved, or uncommitted. So we want to see uncommitted. Hit search. And you can see our student, he went in, he picked his courses, but he forgot to hit review requests and submit. So this is nice because it'll give you a list of those students. They've gone in and they thought they were done, but they didn't finish by hitting review courses and submit. So you'll see it shows his name there. You click on it, it shows the courses that are pending. And you can add the course section from here, or you can have the student go in and do it. So we'll go in as the student, and this is what they are supposed to do once they have their courses listed. They want to click review for requests, submit requests, shows that they're approved. So then if we go back, here's the uncommitted request report again, search it again. There's no records to display. That means that student went in, he submitted those courses and they were approved. So the last thing on the public course request module we'll look at is the account usage. So go back to the public administration, account usage. Here's our student. So this will give you a list of students that have been on and they've used it recently. So this is our student that we just had. He's active and he was on there and he added his classes. Okay, so once we've done that, we've done the public course request module and we have everything else set up. The last thing we have to do is run the batch scheduler. So we're going to get out the batch scheduler procedural checklist. And on page 3, before running the batch scheduler, the following steps need to be performed in this order. So the SYI needs done, creating subcalendars needs done, promoting students needs to be done, and you also have to make sure you've entered your course requests in 21-22. Okay, so the first task, run scheduling reports to verify scheduling data before running the batch scheduler. So there's a bunch of reports listed here. 3 good ones to use are the CRSE, which we've already gone over the course curriculum, the R402, the tally of student requests. We'll go ahead and run that so you can see what it looks like. So here's the tally of student requests. Now keep in mind, you'll have a lot more data. This is just a sample district, so we don't have a lot in there. And then also the NORQ. And this is students with no requests or assignments. It may take a few minutes. Usually doesn't take this long. All right, so we'll move on and we'll come back to that. Oh, it's complete. Never mind. Okay. So here is the students with no requests or assignments. Okay, so if you look at those pages, you'll see a bunch of different reports listed on from page 4 to page 10. So we're going to go to page 10. So task number 2 is to schedule important or special course sections by hand before the batch scheduler is run to ensure students' placement in the courses. So this one right here, we're not going to go over, but this is what we did with the mass updates group on the course requests. So you want to make sure before you run the batch scheduler that you mass update lunch so that all students have lunch. Any courses that need to be run, if you know English 9 is going to be for all your students, run that on that mass updates request. Get that done before you run the batch scheduler. Okay, task number 3. We're not going to go over the configure single student scheduler. So we're going to skip that and we're going to go task number 4, configuring the batch scheduler job parameters to schedule the entire school. So this is a big one. So where we want to go is you can type in job parameter sets. And then you would click add job parameter set, edit ours. And this is what you would come up with. There's a bunch of different tabs here and all of this. So your grade levels to schedule, I pulled over 9, 10, 11, 12. Always move all course terms over. So you just want to click the double arrow here and move all course terms from here to here. Your sort criteria, you can choose how you want to sort it. You can do grade level, descending, student last name, ascending, or descending, however you want to do it. The section overfilled percent field will be filled out according to your school's policy on overfilling. So some schools allow overfilling and others do not. So with COVID, I know you probably didn't allow it as much with this school year, but this will give students, if you have 25 set on that course section, but you have 27 students requesting it, if you have an overfilling, you can add more. So if your school does not, leave it blank. If the course, and here's an example. So if a course had a capacity of 20 and the overfill percent was set to 5, 5% of 20 is 1. So 1 student will be allowed in, so there'd be 21. Course group locking. So the course group locking drop down, you can choose either course or either lock no course groups, which means that if a student has a request for a course that is part of a group but doesn't have a separate request for the group, the scheduler will attempt to schedule the student into the course even if the course group is marked as is locked on the course group maintenance page. If honor course group locks is chosen, then the batch scheduler will look at the course setup, and if the group is locked and a student has a request for a course that is part of the group but doesn't have a separate request for the group itself, the batch scheduler will not schedule the student in the course. And if lock all course groups is chosen, but the batch scheduler will not attempt to schedule any request for a course that is part of a group, even if the group isn't locked. So ours is, we just have ours as honors course groups locking. So balance by ethnicity. If you're balancing by ethnicity, you can choose from the drop down. We have ours as no balancing. Time limit is set to 60. Please leave it at 60. Don't change that. So then you want to move over to the next tab. This is the pass level parameters tab. Please don't change anything on here. Ignore this tab and move on to pass control. Okay, so in pass control, skip the first 6. So you want to start at allow section overfilling. So the 7th option is named allow section overfilling. So this is if you allow overfilling. So if you do, you want to typically use that on the 3rd pass, which is the least restrictive pass. Typically overfilling is chosen for the final pass, which is the least restrictive. If 5% overfilling was chosen on tab 1, but the checkbox to allow overfilling isn't marked, none of the course sections will be overfilled. So we're going to have ours check marked for the 3rd. The 8th option is named try alternates. When requests are entered, the user has the option to specify an alternate request. So if your school would like the batch scheduler to attempt to schedule alternate requests, if the primary request isn't available, check the corresponding boxes. Typically, schools allow alternates on the last pass, which is the least restrictive. So again, we'll mark that as the 3rd pass. Allow partial schedules is the next one. This should always be checked for the final and least restrictive pass. Allow partial schedules isn't checked for the other passes because you want the batch scheduler to attempt to fully schedule the student. And then if it can't honor all the students' requests by the time the batch scheduler gets to the final pass, the batch scheduler will attempt to honor the requests it can, thus giving the student a partial schedule. The 10th option is order requests by priority. Each request has a priority. Please see the course and course groups step by step for information on how to set up course priority. So we're going to have ours marked as all 3. And for the 11th option, you can leave that blank. You don't have to do anything with it. So you just need to go with these 4 right here. Okay, so the next section over, course sequencing rules, you can ignore that, leave it alone. Same with teacher link groups. So the only 3 you really need to focus on is the run level parameters, the pass control, and then the submit tab. Okay, so on the submit tab, you want to make sure is active is marked. The job parameter set, you can name it whatever you want. I'm just calling it default with my initials, and I'll put today's date in. You can put a description in. I have it set as all grades. So next you want to put a check in the set this parameter as the default batch parameter set. The next one you can leave blank, the clear schedule results created by the scheduler. Oh no, sorry, not that one. You can leave this second one here blank. You want to check mark the first one. This one you always want to check. You want to make sure you check mark the clear schedule results created by the scheduler. If you don't check mark this, then after you've run the batch scheduler, you go through, you see any of the errors that you have, you go in and make changes, and then you try to run it again, it's not going to rerun the batch scheduler correctly. It's not going to put in those changes. It's just going to rerun it over and over again with your first initial run. So you always want to make sure clear schedule results created by scheduler is checked so that once you do your errors, you can go in, rerun it, and it will update. So then you would click Save Schedule Parameters. And the page will refresh and you'll be brought back to the job parameter set maintenance screen. So on here, again, always look and hover and you can see there's execute job. You always want to do the 3rd one. Don't do the 4th one. Okay, task number 5 is to run the batch scheduler. So we're going to go back to the job parameter sets where we're already at. You want to click on the 3rd icon, which is called Execute Job and Update Existing Schedule Results. Right here, it'll say, are you sure you want to run the batch scheduler in 21-22? So you always want to make sure you're in the right school year. And here, we'll click our default schedule result. So schedule job name, I'm just going to call it default and give it this date. Job queue, you just have to pick something, so just pick what's in the drop down. Make sure this clear schedule results created by scheduler is checked. Click execute scheduled job. And you'll see right here is our scheduled job. Refresh that. There we go. Okay, here it shows it's complete. So you'll see it'll say pending, active, complete. Here's our schedule or completed job. Okay, so task number 6 is after we run the batch scheduler, we want to review batch scheduler statistics and run reports to help resolve conflicts and verify schedules. So we want to click on the stats tab. So here you'll see this tab will show how many students were scheduled on each pass. So the scheduled status column has 5 categories. There's fully scheduled, the number of students who had all of their requests scheduled. Fully scheduled with request error. This is the number of students listed in this category that have received a full schedule for the requests that were schedulable, but one or more of his or her requests had a problem that prevented the batch scheduler from trying to schedule it. So there's that one. Partially scheduled is the 3rd category. And this is the number of students who didn't have all their requests scheduled. And then the 4th category, which I don't have listed here because this is a sample district and we didn't have any issues. Oh, wait, sorry. I do have it down here. So not scheduled is here, but it would also be listed up here if we had any in the first or second pass. So not scheduled, we don't have anyone, but this is the number of students who didn't have any of their requests scheduled. Okay, and the final category right here is not scheduled due to time limit. So the number of students who couldn't be scheduled because the batch scheduler exceeded the number of seconds filled out in the time limit per student field on tab 1 of the job parameter. Okay. So this gives you just a little snapshot. The next one over is the student schedule detail. So the student schedule detail lists the students' names and students' number for each of the 5 categories. If the category said 0 students, then the category will not be listed on the student schedule detail. Third tab is the course status message, and this is a big one. So the third tab lists each course section, group, and group section that meets the following criteria, even if there were no requests for the course. Course has no course sections on the master schedule. Group has no group sections on the master schedule. Course is not active. Course has no course sections with meeting times on the master schedule. Course has no section in selected course terms. So right here, you'll see, here's my 4 courses. Here's what's wrong with them. So you always want to make sure you get everything corrected on the errors, but you want to always focus first on the ones if it has a yes for requested. So we're not going to focus on fixing these issues right now because these say no, so no one requested these. But if you have a yes here, then you need to make sure you go in if this course has no course sections on the master schedule and add that. You just do what the error tells you. The 4th tab, request status messages. This details the students who have request errors. So there's a little screenshot there. We don't have any listed on our screen, but on page 36, there is a little screenshot of that. The 5th tab is the requests exceeding course capacity. So this details the courses in which the number of requests for the course exceeded the capacity for the course. So there is also an example on page 36 of that. We don't have any on ours, so we can move on from that. The last one is constraint test failures. You can ignore that. So you only want to focus on the first 5 listed there. Okay, so on page 37, again, this will show you reports that you can run. So once you run the batch scheduler initially and you see your errors, you want to go ahead and run reports to check things. So it'll have a bunch of different ones listed here. You can look at the ones on the schedule reports section or the analytics hub. Here are the ones that we suggest running, 2 big ones. The R407. You want to run the class master schedule. You'll run this a ton of times. And then the R426. And I recommend running this student scheduling analysis by grade level. It'll just make it easier for you to be able to see what you need to look at. So we'll run this real quick. And here's we just have 3 students, but here are our students. So there's a conflict with one of his that will have to go in and be looked at. And the rest of these are assigned. And then on page 37 to page 39, there are some reports listed there. Okay, so the next is task number 7. So make applicable changes and rerun the batch scheduler, updating the existing schedule result. Rerun the batch scheduler as many times as you need to. Clear up your errors, run it again, see more errors, clear those errors up, do it as many times as you need to. So this task is just going and doing this all over again. Task number 8 is reviewing your errors again. So we're not going to go back through that, but it's repetitive. You just run it, review your errors, fix your errors, and do it again until you get the desired schedule result that you want. So task number 9, you can ignore, and it can be done later to remove unwanted requests and assignments. You can do that after you've run the batch scheduler. You don't have to worry about that during. So you can also remove unwanted requests and assignments using the course section assignment page. So if you go to requests, I need to put a student in context. Okay, so here was our student that we added courses for. Okay, so we want to remove, say we want to remove chemistry because that was the one that had a conflict. You just click delete this record. Click OK. And that will remove the course for that student. And then again, task number 10 is to rerun the batch scheduler as many times as you need. Task number 11 is to clean up students that are not fully scheduled using the request page. So we're on the request page. Here we can, there's 2 drop downs, one's for the master schedule and 1 drop downs for the schedule result. So if that popped up, you needed to check your default schedule, and then this page here would show. So you can make any changes here. You can add a request for the student, remove a request. We did all that before. So on task number 12, you can clean up students that are not fully scheduled using the request assignment page. So you can do it on either. You can do it on the request page, or you can do it on the request assignment page. So same thing, trash can, add a request, just same thing that we did. The one nice thing about this one is you can view a schedule graph, and it will show you their week, and it will show you what they're scheduled in. So he's got American history and calculus. But you can, on task number 11 and 12, on the request or the request assignment page, you can add and remove any courses that you need to manually add or remove. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do, task number 13. This is to run the study hall wizard. Please, please remember to not do this if you're still fixing schedules. Don't run the study hall wizard until you know you are 100% scheduled and ready to run it. It's not an easy fix if you run it before you're done. So the study hall wizard will only schedule students into study halls if they have an overall student status of active and they must have at least 1 course request. The study hall wizard can be run multiple times, and you want to make sure that you are in 21-22. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to courses. So type in courses in the go-to. Click on number 4 courses. And then if you type in study hall, click the edit pencil, go to the miscellaneous tab. You want to make sure the course type is listed as study hall. So you always want to check and make sure, because if the course type is not listed as study hall, it's not going to run and pull over the study hall. So once you've done that, you can go to study hall wizard. Okay, so once you're in the study hall wizard, in the max consecutive study halls field, enter the number of study halls students are allowed to have back to back. So we just have 1. In the section overfill percent, enter the amount you would like the study halls to be overfilled. So the sort parameters, you can choose whichever one you want. You can do ascending, descending by student last name, grade level, however you want to do it. So if the school would like to enforce grade levels that were selected on the miscellaneous tab of each study hall, put a check in the box next to enforce study hall grade levels. grade levels to schedule. So you can do it by all, or you can do it one by one. I'm just going to do mine with 12th grade. And then the next one, you can permit first period, last period, before lunch or after lunch study halls. We're just going to do ours as permit last period. And we're going to go to next. Default schedule result. Schedule and job name. We're just going to name it study hall 31521. Job queue, same thing. You just have to pick one. Click submit. The job was scheduled to run. All right, so the next thing you want to do, you want to navigate to the schedule job history. So here is our regular batch schedulers. We want to change this default schedule result, study hall batch, refresh. Here's our study hall. Same thing. We can look at our stats. So total study hall scheduled 3. Study hall scheduled detail has it listed here with the student number and who was scheduled. And you can ignore the constraint test failures. And if you want to check on a student, type in your student's name. Go to the drop down, view edit full schedule. And you'll see because he wasn't fully scheduled, he has 3 study halls listed. But you would have only 1 or 2. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about real quick is task number 14, print schedule cards. So keep in mind that print schedule cards, this is not like the R700 for report cards or transcripts. These cannot be edited or customized. These are set and you just have to go through. You can look on page 62 and you can kind of see if it's a landscape or portrait. You can see them all listed there. But I would suggest just going and typing the R701 and just going through and maybe testing them out, unless your district already has one that you choose to use. But go in, fill out what you need to fill out, click submit. Might take a few minutes. Okay, click on your schedule card format. And here's the schedule card that we chose. Here's my students. Now you can pick a different format, but keep in mind they cannot be changed or customized. So that concludes the batch scheduler. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of repeating the same thing over and over again, going through the same stuff, doing the batch scheduler over and over again. If you have any questions or anything you want to discuss for scheduling, please send a ticket to dazzlestaff@OME-RESA.net. We can, and just please put in that ticket as much detail as you can about your question or what you're trying to do. And then this way we can determine if we need to do a Zoom with you. So we can do a Zoom, go into your data and help you schedule and help you with any questions that you have. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good day.